Should you buy a Nintendo Wii in 2018? The Nintendo Wii was unleashed upon the world in 2006, and to put it lightly, it was a bit of a phenomenon. Literally, everyone I knew had a Wii, and most people I know still have a Wii. Hell, my grandmother was pretty good at Wii Sports. That just shows how pervasive the Wii was into us as a greater culture. But the real question is, over a decade, nearly 15 years since the original release, well, 12 years anyways, is it still worth owning a Wii? Well, that's what we're gonna find out in today's video. Welcome to Stuff We Play. Okay, I'm sorry for that pun, but please subscribe. And today we're talking about the Nintendo Wii, and as usual, we're going over the hardware, the games, and accessories. So let's get right into it. Known as a revolution during development, the Nintendo Wii was released in 2006, the same week as the PlayStation 3 actually. While the PS3 launched at a whopping $650 at launch, the Wii was a much more reasonable $250 USD. Unfortunately, as would become a running trend with Nintendo for most of their later releases, most notably with their Classic Edition consoles, demand greatly outstripped supply with the Wii. It was impossible to get these things. So somehow, when my birthday rolled around the January of the year right afterwards, I still managed to get one. I don't know how, but I got a Wii, and let me tell you, the only games I had for the first few months of owning a Wii were Wii Sports and later Sonic and the Secret Rings. The latter of those was hot garbage, and I knew it even as a kid, but the former of those, I remember the day I got a Wii, like every single kid in the neighborhood was at my house, and that was for one big reason: motion controls. The Wii didn't use a regular controller, instead it used a Wii Remote. This here is actually a Wii Remote Plus, which was a later release of the Wiimote that was meant to, kind of be able to track things better, and it also had this little nunchuck attachment with a joystick. But the remote itself was really basic, like NES controller levels of basic. However, you can actually point at things and move it around, and it will somewhat accurately track it as you're moving around. And yes, it was a massive gimmick, but it was a cool gimmick at a time, and it definitely sold consoles. Wii Sports was packaged with every single Wii console sold for a while, and this was more or less just a tech demo filled with sports-themed minigames. And this bundle was so successful and popular that the Wii became one of the best-selling consoles of all time, with Wii Sports itself becoming the best-selling game of all time. When all is said and done though, the Wii itself is not very impressive as a console. Talking actual specs, it's barely more impressive than a GameCube. But it didn't really need to be more impressive. I mean, yeah, it's paltry compared to the PS3 or 360, which were also new around that time, but again, I repeat, it didn't have to be. A lot of people complained during this time that Nintendo had lost sight of their hardcore audience and were pandering to a casual crowd, to which I say, my grandmother loved Wii Sports. Everyone loved Wii Sports. This thing was massively popular. Yeah, Nintendo they're all behind a gimmick, and you know what? It worked. But it didn't strike twice, hence why the Wii U and its gamepad were a massive failure. Now, the Wii also had a few other great things going for it. I mean, it had online, which was actually trash. Who cares for friend codes? And Super Smash Bros. Brawl Online, don't make me remember that. But it did have the Wii Shop channel. With this, the first iteration of the Virtual Console, which allowed you to download tons of games from throughout Nintendo's history. This was a great thing, and honestly it's what got me into retro gaming to begin with, just randomly downloading copies of Super Mario Bros. 3 and whatnot, just so I could play them on my Wii. This was before I knew about the Homebrew Channel. Yes, I was a kid at the time. The Virtual Console was honestly really great, and it makes you wonder why Nintendo decided not to put one on the Switch. And then after not putting one on the Switch, wondered why so many people were starting to resort to emulation. Along with the Virtual Console, you could also download original games from the WiiWare service. Mostly the likes of Mega Man 9 and 10 are the ones that I remember. More specifically, Mega Man 9 was so influential to me that made me decide to go out and actually buy an NES, or more specifically a Retro Duo at the time. I cannot state how great these were, but what was also great owning a Wii was its GameCube backwards compatibility. The only console I myself had before the Wii, as in not belonging to my sister because she did have a Genesis before that, was a Nintendo GameCube. And don't get me wrong, I loved my GameCube, but I was glad to be able to actually put those games on my Wii and to play them on my Wii. In fact, I actually sold my original GameCube before that, quite dumbly looking back as a collector, but I can understand why. Why own an old GameCube when I can have a Wii, which can play GameCube games? I should mention though, it's only the first models of the Wii that had the GameCube backwards compatibility. Granted, this is most of the Wii models up until around when the Wii U came out, but at some point around then, for some reason, Nintendo decided to actually remove the GameCube compatibility, which is weird. I mean, every non-Game Boy player accessory works in every other Wii. I mean, look at this. We have controller slots, memory card slots, everything you need for a great GameCube playing experience. But yeah, at some point Nintendo just removed that completely. Yeah, for some reason at that point as well, along with taking out GameCube backwards compatibility, they removed Wii Sports as a pack-in game and instead put in Mario Kart Wii, which is a fun game in its own right, but still rather odd. But perhaps the oddest of all is the final revision of the Wii, which is this. The Wii Mini. Now, while this might be the sexiest looking console Nintendo's ever made, looks are definitely deceiving in this case, because this thing is pretty useless. It does replace the motorized disc tray with an actual spring-loaded disc tray, which, while cool in theory, it's pretty much the only thing the Wii Mini adds, and everything else it just takes out. For example, this console came out in 2012, but it does not have internet access. This can't access the internet at all. Also, like the second revision of the regular Wii, it can't play GameCube games. And also, the regular Wii could actually have its memory expanded by using an SD card. That's not possible with this one. So essentially, if you want to play Wii games, that's all you can do with this one. Except you can't buy it new anymore, and when you find it used, it's more expensive than a regular Wii usually. I mean, I didn't pay that much, thankfully, but it's just kind of funny. Like, what was the point behind the Wii Mini? Do you think Nintendo just had a bunch of extra Wii parts and were like, okay, let's just put these in a new case and try to sell them off for like $100 each? What's also really weird about the Wii Mini, though, is that originally this console was Canadian exclusive. They eventually brought it out in the States, but for a while you could only get this console in Canada, so I guess as someone who lives in Canada, that's cool? So hardware-wise, the Wii was gimmicky and not really something to write home about, but it was definitely charming, and it's definitely not very expensive to find nowadays. I typically see them at game stores for about $50, and even cheaper if you go to a thrift store. And trust me, if you go to any thrift store, you'll likely find a Wii or two in stock. But the real question is, how are the games? Well, let's get right into that. So I have a controversial opinion about the Nintendo Wii's game library. Often the Nintendo Wii, it gets this reputation of just having nothing but crap. In the industry we call it a shovelware, games that are just kind of shoveled out there, more like it crapped out there. You know, your carnival games, your Imagine Babies, your Cosmic Families, Chicken Shoot, just all these terrible games. But there are some really good games that came out on the Wii, and admittedly a lot of them are first-party Nintendo games, so I'm going to take a few minutes just to go over some of the games I think are worth having on the Wii. And the first things first, the game that was packed in with the Wii, Wii Sports. It was a tech demo pack-in title with a multitude of sports on it, mainly baseball, tennis, golf, bowling, and boxing. Boxing was more or less punch-out, golf was boring, tennis was actually really fun, baseball was cool for a bit, but for me, the best part of this was bowling. Wii Sports Bowling was addictive. It was fun. It was nothing really like real bowling, but it used motion controls in a way that wasn't too intrusive, but was still great. But as good as it was in Wii Sports, it was even better in its sequel, Wii Sports Resort. This was packaged with the Wii Motion Plus attachment, you know, before they just kind of built it into Wii remotes, and features a host of new mini-games for you to play. Yeah, a lot of the classics are there, but also Wii Sports Resort has an actual setting instead of just random generic tennis courts and whatnot. No, this takes place on Woohoo Island, with things such as cycling, sword fighting, literal sword fights, holy crap. And my personal favorite, this flying minigame, that actually served as a basis for Pilot Wings in the Nintendo 3DS. Wii Sports Resort's actually a lot of fun, from wakeboarding to that amazing flying minigame, and honestly, these games are so cheap and easy to find. For example, the copies of Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort I've been showing off here, I paid 95 cents each for. And even though Wii Sports itself is the best-selling game of all time, if you somehow don't own a copy of these games or have never played them, you owe it to yourself to at least give them a shot. But there's also some other great games on there as well. Mario Party 8 was on there and that was good. Mario Party 9 was on there and that's not so good. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games was on there and that's actually a pretty good minigame collection, though let's be honest, a game that's based off the 2008 Beijing Olympics definitely doesn't seem dated at all whatsoever. But there's also some really great platformers, and as many of you know, I love my platformers. Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are the two best 3D Mario games out there, or at least they were until Super Mario Odyssey came out on the Switch. They put Mario in space, and between Rosalina and the Lumas and all the great and varied awesome planets you go to. The anti-gravity here is used really well, and they're so unique and fun while still being unequivocally Mario. Great games. But along with that, we have New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and it's New Super Mario Bros. But on the Wii. And 4-player mode is extremely chaotic, and if you have a modded Wii, you can play custom courses on this one. Ooh. But yeah, New Super Mario Bros. Wii is a lot of fun, and while it's not the best platformer out there, it's still fun, but probably the best platformer on the Wii by far is Sonic Colors. I'm a big Sonic fan. While there are other Sonic games on the Wii, like Sonic and the Secret Rings, which was bad, Sonic and Black Knight, which was meh, and Sonic Unleashed, which was actually okay, Sonic Colors was phenomenal. From a great soundtrack to a great sense of flow and speed, and yeah, it has a lot of 2D sections which are slower and not quite as fast as the 3D sections where you're pretty much just holding down the boost button to go forward. It's a lot of fun, it's exhilarating. It has funny cutscenes with great voice acting, a great soundtrack. It has one of the most beautiful stages in any Sonic game ever in the form of Planet Wisp, which, by the way, is the home of the Wisps, which are these little creatures that give you these weird and wacky powers. And really, Sonic Colors is great, and you owe it to yourself to play it. Going to other games, we have your fighters. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom was fun, and Super Smash Bros. Brawl was also a lot of fun, even though for some reason a lot of people hate it. But keep in mind, I don't play Smash competitively, and I thought Brawl was a really good time, even if the Subspace Emissary was a little repetitive. And then we have the game I probably sucked the most time into out of all of these, Mario Kart Wii. I'll be honest, objectively speaking, it's probably the weakest entry in the Mario Kart series. I know all the Mario Kart games have rubber band AI, but in 150cc and Mario Kart Wii, it just seems to be at the absolute worst it's ever been. However, one of the coolest things about the Wii is how easy it is to mod. I don't usually go into this, but it's so easy to do it. You owe it to yourself to put the Homebrew Channel on your Wii. And if you use the Revolution tool, look it up. It's completely legal to do since it requires you to have a disc for the game you're using it on. You can use it on, Smash or New Super Mario Bros. Or more importantly, Mario Kart Wii. And you can download the custom Mario Kart Wii custom tracks and custom character packs. I've been doing this, each pack I found has 240 something different tracks on them. It's an absolute blast and it's a great time, and honestly, I don't usually talk about modding in these videos, but the Homebrew Channel alone makes it worth getting a Wii. So you see, the Wii does have some great games. Admittedly, most of them are from Nintendo. And there are others as well, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, the Metal Slug Anthology, Mad World, House of the Dead Overkill. This is just a bit of a sampling of all the great games on the Wii. But let's end off by going over both some accessories and also deciding if you should buy a Wii or a Wii U. So let's go into some Wii accessories before comparing the Wii to the Wii U. And probably the most prolific accessories are, well, these weird plasticky things. Wii wheels, Wii baseball bats, Wii tennis rackets, and then all the countless knockoffs that also tried to do them. Plastic Wii peripherals were quite a big market for a while, and it's funny because none of them really added anything to the game. Well, except the Wii wheel. That one was actually pretty cool if you preferred to play Mario Kart with the motion controls. But probably the biggest one of these was the Wii balance board. This mainly shipped with Wii Fit, and while that game wasn't my cup of tea, my sister actually really enjoyed that game. She mainly cited that she is someone who works out way more than, well, I do. That often when there was a rainy day, instead of going to the gym, she'd just pop in Wii Fit. And you know what? That seems perfectly reasonable. It worked for her, and it worked for a lot of people. And so you know what? Kudos to them. However, the big question is, should you buy a Wii or a Wii U? Now, first things first, going to homebrew, both the Wii and a Wii U can have homebrew done on them. While it's a little bit easier on the Wii, I mean, it's not that difficult on the Wii U either. And while, yes, the Wii U can't natively play GameCube games, through modding, it can. You just can't use real memory cards and whatnot. so both of them are equally capable. Furthermore, the Wii itself doesn't have an HDMI out while the Wii U does. The Wii U can play, well, Wii U games, and, well, it actually has online services that work for at least a few more months. Kind of, sort of, somewhat. However, the biggest nod in the Wii's favor over the Wii U is cost, because the Wii U is still rather expensive, games for it are still rather pricey, and quite frankly, I think the Wii U is about to jump up in price, because it was kind of the Sega Saturn of that last console generation. The Wii, on the other hand, while it's going up in price just due to not actually being in production anymore, it's still really cheap and easy to find. So whether you just want to play Wii Fit or Wii Sports, or maybe play some old GameCube games while you're at it, or just put the Homebrew Channel and mod the living hell out of it easily, I think you should get a regular Wii. Is the Wii worth owning in 2018? The answer is short and simple, no matter what gamer you are, and despite what anyone says about the Wii, the answer is absolutely yes. As long as it's a first model Wii. Don't buy a second revision or a Wii Mini. But you know what? I maybe begin to ramble on just a bit. Do you have any memories of the Nintendo Wii? Let me know down in the comment section below. And while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to Stuff We Play for more great content like this. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Remember to back us on Patreon if you get a chance, if you feel so inclined. Stay classy, and I'll see you next time.